What medical treatment will your disability carrier expect you to have if you've got carpal tunnel? Now, carpal tunnel syndrome happens when the nerves in the passageway between the palm and the wrist, which is known as the carpal tunnel, is compressed. This compression can result in pain, numbness, and tingling that can make it difficult to use one or both hands. Now, if you have a disability insurance policy or you're covered under a plan, you should be applying for your short and long-term disability benefits. But let's talk about how you perfect that claim. It might surprise you to learn that you have the burden at all times to prove that you meet the applicable standard of disability. So let's get out your policy. What is the standard of disability in your policy or plan? Regardless of the diagnosis or the combination of the diagnoses, you need to be prepared to prove an objective basis for the diagnosis, an objective basis for the restrictions and limitations that have been assigned, perhaps even a functional capacity evaluation, and if necessary, your own evaluation by an independent medical evaluator. Ultimately, you got to tie it up. You have to show a causal relationship between your inability to perform your own any other duties that you might have and your inability to do those duties as a result of your symptoms and functionality. Now, disability carriers are going to review your medical records, and they expect that you're going to be treated by a specialist. You need to look at the definition in your policy or plan about your treatment responsibilities. Now, there are various types of treatment options. They can include physical therapy, splinting, injections, and even surgery. You're not required to undergo invasive surgery, but I will tell you that the disability carrier will expect that, in fact, you have undergone at a minimum injection therapy, and they would really like to see you have surgery. Now, for mild cases of carpal tunnel, and you have injections, the relief can last about a year, but that's temporary. The carrier is going to ask you to obviously consider having surgery, and the first is an open procedure, and the less invasive procedure is known as an endoscopic surgery. It's basically a minimally invasive surgery, but there are some risks. There's the risk of infection, there's the risk of nerve injuries, there's the risk of blood vessel injuries, there's the risk of numbness and tingling in your hands and arms, there's pain on the sides of the palm, known as pilar pain or pillar pain. Surgery, as I've said, is the most common thing that the carrier expects. Now, the incisional procedure can result in some pain, but normally that pain will generally go away. And that pain can also be treated with injections. But ultimately, most of the time, the numbness and tingling after carpal tunnel surgery will generally go away unless the carpal ligament was not completely released or there was nerve damage that was long-standing as a result of compression of the median nerve. Now, your doctor is going to recommend that you have an EMG, a nerve conduction study test, to determine the cause of your continued post-operative symptoms. About 10 to 15% of the time, you'll see recurrent symptoms after undergoing surgery. Now, this is problematic because disability carriers will use disability duration guidelines, and they may argue that you haven't recovered fast enough from this surgery. That sounds kind of weird, doesn't it? Because you bought the policy or covered under the plan to provide you benefits if you're having complications. But I want you to understand that disability carriers will consult disability duration guidelines, which are just that, they're guidelines. They're not, I think, applicable to every case. And if you don't recover quickly enough, even though that's expected, your claim most likely is going to be evaluated by a liar for hire doctor who they've hired for the sole purposes of saying, you can go back to work, or your restrictions and limitations are such that you can do your own occupational duties, or the nature of your treatment isn't sufficient. They're going to create a reason for denying your benefits. Now, if that happens, you'll only have 180 days in which to file an appeal. You need an ERISA disability attorney to help you file a winning appeal and take on the disability insurance carrier. I've helped people such as yourself across the United States, and I look forward to helping you get the disability benefits you deserve.